Are you ready to Snapplique? This video is part of a series for the Happy Halloween quilt by Amy Bradley Designs. Snapplique is an automated method to take a paper quilt pattern, scan it into the ScanNCut, and convert it into a machine embroidery design. You can even use the ScanNCut to cut out all your pieces. You'll be able to create blocks like this for your quilt with an embroidery machine and no longer have to go around each individual piece with a domestic sewing machine. This method is a lot of fun and it's a real time saver, and I hope you join me. Let's get to it. Today I'm going to be stitching up the Werewolf, and I have got the placement sheet for the Werewolf, and this is page 33 and 34 out of the pattern. And I'm just going to put it into the ScanNCut. I'm using my 24-inch scanning mat because there are 2 pages of pattern pieces, and so I wanted to just do one scan. I'm going to press this middle button right here on the side menu, and that is to load the mat. We've got 2 menu items here, pattern and scan. Pattern are patterns that were in the machine when you bought it. And then we have scan, and that's the one I want. I'm going to scan, and in order to get a JPEG to use as a background image for pattern placement, I need to scan it to USB to create the JPEG file. So I'm just going to scan to USB and touch start. I already have a USB over here in the side of the machine. I'm going to tell it start and let it scan it in. It says it has saved to USB. I'm going to remove the placement sheet and I'm going to put in the pattern piece sheets. I'm going to tell it OK. And the pattern piece sheets are pages 12 and 13 in the pattern. And now on the menu we have direct cut, scan to cut data, and scan to USB. I'm going to scan to cut data. The scan area here says 12 by 12 with a recognition mode of color. I want to go into the wrench and I want to tell it the scan area is actually the 12 by 24 because I have 2 pages that I want it to look at, and tell it OK and start. It looks good. Let me make sure it caught the bottom as well. Yep, that looks great. It says frame the image. I'm just going to tell it OK. I'm going to clean that up in Brother Canvas. For capturing the images, I have the choice of outside only, which means just the outside of the shapes and not the little words within the shapes, or I can get regions. I'm going to choose outside only and tell it OK. And it wants to know where do I want to save it. I can save it to the machine, to the cloud, or to the USB. This one I want to save to the cloud. Save successful. I'm going to tell it OK. Now I'm going to go to Brother Canvas and clean up the scans. I'm here at canvasworkspace.brother.com. This is the online version of Canvas Workspace, and I have already logged in, and I'm going to go to my projects, and it will bring up my scan. Here it is, and I'm going to click on edit this project. You've got 2 buttons here, edit and download. I'm going to click on edit. This is good. I want to capture all of the pieces that I want to keep. I will go through here with my mouse and just highlight over the ones I want to keep. I might catch something that I don't. That's okay, I can clean that up. Let me scroll down a little bit and grab this hair. And then this little piece right here, I want to put that back, and I'm going to clean up the mat by hovering over the mat and dragging it down as far as I can. Let me scroll. I'm going to reduce the size a little bit here. And then there, I've cleaned up the whole mat. I'm going to put everything else back on the mat. And I need to mirror these patterns because I will be cutting with pretty side up on the fabric. I'm going to right click and group to group them as one and come up to the edit tab, and I'm going to flip horizontal and then right click and ungroup. I need to put all of the shapes together that are going to share the same fabric. For instance, the face and the ears, that's these two pieces right here, are cut from the same fabric. So I want to have them next to each other, and I'm going to group them so that if I move one, then everything moves. And I think I'm just going to grab one of these and I'm going to turn it and move it up close to the face. These will all be cut together. I don't want them touching. Let me make this just a little bit bigger. I can highlight all three of these pieces, right click and group, and now they will be cut together. And from here, I can look down here at the bottom of the screen. This is 6.32 by 4.53. I'm going to add about an inch or so to each one of those numbers. So for instance, I will cut a 7.5 by 6 piece of fabric for that piece right there, and that way I know I've got plenty of margin all the way around for the fabric to grip to the mat, and it will cut out very cleanly. I'm going to continue to do that for the rest of these pieces. I have a little sticky note here that has the fabric number and what those pieces are, and then I'm going to write my fabric measurement right next to it, and that's going to tell me what size pieces to cut out of my fabric. Now that I have everything grouped by fabric and I've figured out the fabric sizes that I need, I'm going to come up to the left corner and I'm going to save it as Werewolf, and I'm going to come over to the project tab and hit the inbox with the arrow and a plus sign. Saving is completed. I want to download this, so I'm going to click the great big download button over here on the left, and I'm going to download to PC, and that will go into my downloads folder, and that's the file I'll use to turn into the embroidery design. And then I'm going to click ScanNCut transfer, and this is the file I'll use to cut out my pieces. Let's go over to the ScanNCut. I have all of my fabric for the Werewolf cut and backed with heat and bond light. And the white fabric, I took some black Crayola marker and just made some hash marks around the edges so that I can see it on the screen. And the white has also been backed first with some Pellon's SF101 to make it more opaque. And then I took that fused piece and I put heat and bond light on the back of that. Everything is ready to go on this. And what I want to do is to scan the mat so that it can take a picture of the fabric. But first I need to get the design from the cloud, and to do that I'm going to hit this button that says retrieve data. Remember, pattern are patterns that were in the machine when you bought it. So I want to retrieve data, and where do I want to get it from? I can get it from inside the machine, the cloud, USB, or you might be cabled to your computer. I want to get it from the cloud. And here it is right here. One thing I did do was I ungrouped these shirt pieces right here because the fabric for the shirt is directional, and I just want to be sure that I get it right according to the picture. I can see all of this here, and I've got all my pieces in the right spot. This big blue box right here with a bar across it, that's the scan bar. I just want to tap that, and let me make sure I'm on my 12 by 24 inch mat. Scan or cut area is 23.74 by 11.65. That's the 12 by 24. I'm going to tell it okay, and scan and start. Now I can get in here and really see and make sure that everything is going to cut exactly on the fabric like I want. And if it's not, I can just move them a little bit so that they fit exactly on the fabric. These shirt points, I'm going to rotate them a little bit. Let me look at everything else. I am going to rotate these. I'm going to touch one and click Edit, Object Edit. And I've got, there's a stretchy arrow here. That's to change the size. There's multiples. Here's rotate. I want to rotate 90. Yes, that will fit there. And same with this one, rotate 90. And that will fit there. That looks great. I'm going to tell it okay. Back out of these menus. Tell it okay. Tell it okay. One more time. And please select and cut and start. Everything is going to be cut within 2 minutes. Tell it okay and eject the mat. All right, and we can pull this up. Oh, look, it's perfect. I love this. This is great. There's the ears and the face. Because this piece also had SF101 on it, they didn't cut completely out with the blade, and that's fine. I'm going to leave everything in there as is until I get ready to iron it down to the final project, and that way I don't lose track of my smaller pieces. That piece did cut out, so that's perfect. I can clean that up with the scissors or an X-Acto knife. That's excellent. Everything is ready to go and looks great. I want to build the werewolf, and I am in Brilliance, and I'm using Stitch Artist 3. So I am going to bring in the background image, and here he is right here. Open him up. Now this is not to scale. I can see the image over here in the objects panel, and I cannot see it on my screen, so I'm going to click the icon right here with the tree and a little sun behind it, and that is show or hide the background image. Now I need to bring in the vector graphic that the ScanNCut scanned in right there. And the first thing I want to do is to scale the background image to size. So I am going to move it into about the middle of the hair right there. And I'm just going to grab it on the corner and scale it up until I can get those hair pieces to be, well, that was pretty good. Look at that. I'm getting better at this. So this is to size. I'm going to make sure the image is highlighted over here in the objects panel, and I want to click the lock on it. And that's going to make sure that I don't accidentally resize it at all. The easiest way to do this when you have a whole lot of pieces is to create groupings and just get those groupings correct. I'm going to grab the eyes and the eyelids. Let me get these together. Now that I've got the image resized, the first thing I want to do is to get everything in the right stitch order. The very first thing to go down are the ears. And this looks like the right one. The left one is first. I'm going to hold down the Control key and highlight both of these, and then right click and move first. And I want the left one to go down first. So I'm going to click on the right one and hover it over the one I want it to be after. And that will switch their places, so that's fine. After the ears, we have the hair, and that is this one right here. I'll grab it on the picture, not on the words, and hover it over the one I want it to be after. After that is the face, and that is this one. And I'm going to continue to do that for the rest of these. Now I want to save the working file, so I'm going to come up to the top left corner and click on File, and I will say Save Working File, and I'm going to call it werewolf.be. We'll save the stitch file in a minute. Right now what I want to do is begin to group these so that they are in the right orientation for their little group. It just makes things a lot easier now that everything is in the right stitch order. So I'm going to take the eyes, I'm going to scroll in a little bit, hold down my space bar, which turns my cursor into a hand. I'm just going to move the eyes right over here. I'm going to get the lids and bring them over and rotate them. If these are not exactly placed, that's perfectly fine. The point is that you've got enough of a gap between the lids and the eyes so that you'll be able to remove the hidden stitches. The nose looks like it's in the right orientation, and then I can move the eyes just a tiny bit. Sometimes it's good to hold down the Control key on your keyboard and use your arrow keys to make micro movements. I want this one to stitch first. Embroidery machines like to go left to right. I want to stitch the left eyelid first. I'm going to remove the background so that I can see what's going on in here. And I really want these to be touching. That looks really good. I'm going to continue to do this for the hair and the ears and all the other pieces and get everything grouped in and aligned. Now I need to remove the background image, and I want to get in really close and make sure that the tips of the ears are just touching that outside corner of the hair. All right, I need to make sure that there are no broken graphics on here. So I'm going to click on Design, so that selects everything, and I'm going to come up to the Create menu, Outline, and I want to reconstruct outline. If anything moves at all, it repaired a broken graphic. Little bit. There was a little bit of movement there. All right, so now I want to apply stitches to this, and with everything selected, I'm going to click on the Applique button. That looks pretty good. And let me go into the Applique tab over here in the Properties box. I want to change them all to a blanket stitch, and I want this stitch length to be 2.0 and the stitch width to be 3.0. All right, and on the eyelids, I want to change that stitch length I'm sorry, the stitch width to a 2.0. That looks pretty good. And the rest of the pieces, the teeth are a little small. I'm going to change those to a 2.0 as well. That looks pretty good. And maybe stitch length should go to 1.5. Those are pretty small pieces there. That looks pretty good. I want to see now to make sure that my hidden stitches are gone, those pieces that are overlapped. So I'm going to jump out of Stitch Artist and I'm going to click on the little scissor button here. It looks like the piece, this here behind the ears, the back side of the ears, those hidden stitches are gone. Same with the top of the eyes, not so much on the nose. Well, let me click on the nose and I'm just going to use my arrow key and move it up just a little bit. See if that doesn't help. It does. There we go. Those hidden stitches are gone. You can just move it a little bit. And right here at the neck, that looks good behind the tie. And same goes for, oh, my collar pieces are missing. I need to put those on, don't I? Oh, let's get back into Stitch Artist. Let me scroll out. There they are. What happened to those guys? Let's see. Perfect. Those look good just like that. That looks great. I want to save this again. I'm just going to Control S to save the working file. Up here in the tab, it said werewolf.be and there was a star. That means there have been changes made since the last save. What I want to do now is go ahead and bring the background image back in. I'm going to go back into Stitch Artist and click on this button. And I need to bring in the smile. So I may need to move a tooth or two, but that's okay. I want this to be another design because it's not going to be applique. I'm going to create, design, and begin new design. And that'll give me number 2 over here. And I want this to be a drawn stitch. I'm going to scroll in just a little bit and hold down the Shift key and click on this little smile grin right here and hit enter. Okay, and I'm going to make another one with the draw points tool. And I'm going to do this one. Hold down the Shift key and enter. And then I want to draw points again. And I'm going to do the smile. You want to make smaller clicks on a curve so you'll get a smoother curve. For all of these, I'm going to make sure the design is highlighted and I want to make it a run stitch, which is right here underneath the Stitch Artist icon. I'm going to click that, and over here in the properties box I want to change it to a double run with a 2.0 millimeter. Great. Now I want to remove the image and I want to make sure, get in close, and I'm going to click the grin and get this straightened out a little bit. Now I want to get the teeth, and I want to make sure that that tooth exactly sits on top of that line. It's actually going to be under the line, but I want the top of the teeth to also be right there. Very nice. And now the eyes, and I want those to be a separate design as well. I'm going to create, design, begin new design. And I want to use the circle tool right here. Oh, let me bring in that background image. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and create a circle. I want that to be a fill, so I'm going to click the fill button and click off. Over here, I'm going to click on my fill, and on the picture, I'm going to right click and copy right click and paste. It pasted right on top of itself. I'm going to grab it and drag it over and put it right there. It's a little close to the nose, so let me go back in and do a little movement on my nose, just a little bit. Maybe I need to move my eyes. I just want to make sure that I don't have the eyes touching the edge of the nose fabric. And then I need to make a line between the eyes from the point right up here and down. I'm going to remove the background for that. Right here, I'm going to use the draw tool, and I'm going to click right in between the eyes. I want that under the eyelid. That's okay. I'm going to hold down the shift key. Slight curve right on that point. And it put it down here in the under the eye, and that's fine. I'm going to just hit enter. And I want to take this top one and I want to drag it. Just make sure that it is not up here, but it's underneath where the eyes are all going to meet. That looks really good. That looks pretty smooth. This line right here, I want that to be a run stitch. And the run is a double at a 2.0. I want this to stitch right after the eyes. So I'm going to grab it and I'm going to move it up. And if I can get it to scoot up, I will. Sometimes I can't, so we'll just hover it over that tooth. That gets it a little higher in the stitch order. And then I can scroll up and grab a hold of it again and put it right over the eyes so that it'll stitch the eyes and then it'll stitch that run stitch. I think I can smooth this out just a little bit. Oh, that looks great. I think he's finished. He looks pretty good. All right, one more time to check the hidden stitches. That looks excellent. All right, he's done. I am going to Control S one more time just to make sure he is saved. Now I want to turn him into an embroidery file, and I'm going to File, Save as Stitch and Working, and I want to call him Werewolf, and he will be a PES file, and save. Now I want to open the embroidery design, so I'm going to create a new tab up here in the top left corner, and I'm going to drag in the design. I'm just going to grab him and drag him over onto the screen, and I do want to save myself some trips to the ironing station. I'm going to group together those pieces that can be put down at the same time. So you can see this is applique position, that's the left ear, and here's the applique position for the right ear. So I'm just going to grab this one and hover it up over the one I want it to be after. It'll stitch position stitch or placement stitch, placement, and then final stitch and final stitch. All right, and then we have the hair, and that's going to be fine, and the final stitch for the hair. And here is the placement stitch for the face, the blanket stitch for the face, and then here are the eyes, final stitch for the eyes. There's a lid. I'm going to take this one and put it right there, and then the position stitch for the nose can also go down at the same time after the lid. It'll go placement, 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 final, final, final. That's good. And we can even do these two placement stitches at the same time. They don't overlap, so it'll be okay. We can put all of those together that way, and then we have these as well can go down, so it'll go placement, 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 final, 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 final. And I'm going to move this one so that those two placement stitches stitch together, collar left, collar right, and then final, final, and there is the tie and the final on the tie. That's great. That way it minimizes the number of times I have to pull the hoop and take it to the ironing station. So that's great. All right, we're all done and he's ready to stitch out. Show you guys up close. If you decide to not remove the background quilting, it doesn't matter. You can't see the background quilting under the applique. It's not that big of a deal if you decide you don't want to do that. Well, I think he turned out pretty dapper with his shirt and tie, looking like he's ready to go out on the town for a happy Halloween. This was a lot of fun. Sorry about the camera thing during the stitching. I thought my other camera was recording and it wasn't. You were catching bits and pieces of me during one of the Stitchuation Room lives. So good thing I had the other camera running, huh? All right, this was a lot of fun. More to do. I'll talk to you soon. You guys go sew something. Bye.